Hey guys, it's Ronnie. It is Thursday, June 18th in the morning, and I'm coming to you with this brief market update and just some updates on the stocks that I'm in, as well as just some potential thoughts for today and for um, going into next week. Okay, so again, this Friday, as I mentioned earlier in the week, is quadruple witching, quarterly window dressing, whatever you want to call it. There will be lots of activity tomorrow um, by the end of the day. Lots of volume, um, shifting around of things, as well as closing of options prior to expiration. So you have here on the screen the chart on the right, the S&P 500 index, and on the left is the 15-minute chart of the index. So just a quick overview in general of what's going on with this index. You can see we've been watching this purple line as a complex trend line, and yesterday it actually we did talk about it potentially being, potentially filling this gap here. You can see yesterday in the action that was kind of choppy. Um, it actually stayed below. It got below and stayed below this shorter term trend line, which is from the bottom of this crash. So day before yesterday, I was talking a little bit about how this hammer pattern in the daily chart on the S&P was just above this trend line, and I would be watching to see whether it either went up to fill in, this area, or if it failed. So you can see it never even made it to the top, to the high of the day prior, and then as soon as here's the daily intraday chart yesterday, and as soon as it opened, um, it kind of went up, came back down, and then closed right around 31.32. But it even ended up going further down, going even higher than the open, but then coming right back down. So very choppy day. But the high was, it closed with the high below the prior day's high. So to me that was weak. That was a sign of weakness. So I anyway, still had the positions that we've been talking about, Carnival Cruise Lines, and India, the ETF for India. I still had those positions on, and still actually have those positions on going into today. So this actually gave me confidence to kind of hold on to my Carnival short, as well as think about other shorts that I was looking at. So in general, it looks like the market is going to be weaker on the open this morning also. Let's check the futures out since it is the pre-market. You can see the futures have been kind of all over the place too. So um, on the left-hand side is the futures market, um, action after hours and pre-market. So this is the close. Right here is the close of yesterday's trading. You can see it went down. It was down almost 1% and or so, maybe 1.5% at the low, which I'm going to mark off for us today going into the morning's trade. I'm going to actually mark this line off so that we can see during the day what the overnight low in the market was. And you can see it on the daily chart too, which is really interesting. It is actually um, in the, the 2 days prior to that, it's the same as that low almost. So we'll be looking for it to either have some support right here. If it breaks through this area, the overnight low again, that's another sign of weakness and potential a potential, you know, um, short play, even on the market as well as in other areas that I'm looking at for stocks. You can see it actually climbed all the way back up in the overnight, almost back to this purple trend line, not quite, and then pulled back. So we're kind of in this 30.78 pivot right here, which is from a prior high. So that's the S&P 500. Let's go into a couple of positions that I'm holding. One is India, the ETF, which isn't looking so hot this morning. But I did hold on to it because of the relative weakness in the market yesterday. If you look at the daily chart on India, you can see that it actually, um, had closed below this trend line yesterday. So, which is the reason that I held on to it. Um, it has some ticks up here today in this area in the pre-market, which I don't know if that's valid or not. I'll have to look at the level two real quick. Let's see, 28, 15, and 30. So it's just a wide spread. Um, 28.15 is still right around here, so it's maybe opening in this area. I'm gonna maintain this position if the market is weak today. If it goes above the prior day's high, which is this from June 16th, I'm probably gonna stop out of the position. That's my stop. Is the prior day's high? You can see the area right here on the daily chart where there's kind of three tops. Let's see if you can see this. Not sure why it's not drawing, but I think you see what I'm talking about. These three bars right here kind of have the same high. So if it gets above that, I'm actually going to stop myself out of position, which is okay. Carnival, it happens. Carnival Cruise Lines is the next stock. Had reported earnings. I remember telling you guys I was potentially not going to hold it through earnings, depending on what it did yesterday. And it did, although it did give me an opportunity to sell it, my position here. I didn't get that opportunity. I actually missed this opportunity to sell Carnival in the morning yesterday, and held on to it because it did pop up a little bit, but was still underneath the prior day's range, and so going into earnings, I wanted to go ahead and keep it in my positions. And you can see the earnings were pretty bad. They were much worse than expected. I maybe almost about twice as large of a loss than was expected. So, and I had talked about a few days back, right? That I thought it was going to be a bad quarter. I mean, we knew it was going to be a bad quarter for the cruise lines, but and that was one reason I had actually got into the position to hold it through earnings. I did get the opportunity to potentially sell it yesterday, my position, which are calls, and I mean puts. Apologies, options. They are put options, and so thankfully I did not, because this move right here was pretty big. So I'll be able to take advantage of this move first thing on the open and close my options positions. I will lose a little options premium because earnings is over. So I'm going to just open up the options screen to kind of show you. Here's the option screen. The premium on the options you can see is pretty elevated in general, on the cruise lines. The historical volatility is about 43%, and the implied volatility is about 133%. You can see this is above that, so I'll lose a little bit of juice, if you want to call it that, on the position, which is a put at the 20 strike. So, but it won't be. It's a July put, so it won't be as bad as if I were to have, for example, a June put, because the intrinsic value on that June put will be, a lot less than the July put, meaning like the time value will be less. So the theta decay would be higher, and the volatility crush will be a little bit more on the front month. So if you don't know about options, I'll definitely explain some more later on in my next video. Okay, what's next? So just in general, I think we'll just stop there for now. We'll keep it brief this morning. Um, just know that I'll just briefly go into gold and TLT. Gold is still in the range. You can see from the daily chart here, gold is still in its range that we were talking about on the right side here. looking for a breakout still above this descending trend line. Bonds are showing a little strength, and actually the dollar is showing a little strength today, I believe, as well. So bonds, here's a 30-year. You can see it's showing some strength, pushing up into um, above this 177.07 area. If it can maintain this low here, this is a higher low. So if it doesn't get below this low from 2 days ago, and actually gets above 178.18, I might consider getting back into it for the short term. I mean, I like what we were talking about is I didn't want it to go below um, this higher low right here, this 171 um, '08 area. The reason actually it was about 170.30 this pivot. And the reason I didn't want it to go below that is because that would be a sign of weakness and further weakening. So I actually wanted it to pull back a little bit more before going up, but you don't always get what you want in the market. And so I'll have to just see where the chart goes and where the bonds go today. And obviously, the Federal Reserve is still pumping in stimulus. Um, the interest rates are maintaining at zero. So I anticipated that any bounce in the yields is going to be sold off, which would mean um, a bounce in the bonds themselves. So that's what I was looking for, and it seems like it's happening. But I'm going to wait for it to get over this level of resistance here. Even the 50 moving average, you can see, is still up here above this area, and these 3 days of consolidation here, where the highs are around that 178-ish area. I'm looking for it to get above that. Um, so we'll be looking at bonds uh, as well for a potential play. And so that's all I really have today. There is news, of course. Actually, let me just share with you. Sorry, share with you Kroger. This is what I get for doing it first thing in the morning and not being totally prepared. Um, Kroger actually had earnings today. I was surprised to see the earnings being causing a drop in the stock. Let's just see what the earnings says. They posted stronger sales and profits among amid the coronavirus pandemic. Kroger's been a pretty strong performer this year, despite the weakness in the rest of the market. It did have it was kind of already pretty high, crashed down slightly. Um, it just retraced all of this during the market crash, but actually has held up pretty well. It hasn't broken out of this area yet, which is what I was actually looking for before getting into Kroger. I think Kroger's a great stock. The grocery store chain um, that is pretty prevalent in the southeast, at least, and other parts of the country, Midwest, Southeast. So it's actually, I know personally, I've been shopping a lot more with, grocery delivery using grocery delivery services at Kroger than I would if I went myself. I've been using grocery delivery for a while, but much more often during the coronavirus pandemic and lockdowns and stay at home orders. So I was really expecting some good news, which it was, but a bigger pop in the stock. So let's see where it is right now. It's opening potentially around the 3250 area, which really is still right at that 20 and 50-day moving average confluence right here. So, you see it kind of popped all the way to that 3379 pivot or above it, 3374 pivot in the overnight. So I would actually, if it doesn't get below, I mean, I'm not going to push this trade, but I will say if it doesn't get below the overnight low right here of 3230, we're here. We'll go ahead and make it a dashed line so I can see it visually. So if it doesn't get back below this low and manages to move up, we'll see. I'll use the first 5 minute high on this one to see if it gets above that first 5 minute high, and I might take a short trade back up to this 33.74 area if it makes it. And if it then crosses above this 33.74 pivot, I'd be looking to get into it additionally, right? So to add to my position. And then the next target on this would be this pivot here at 34.50. So just a little uh, brief trade on Kroger if it pans out. I am looking again, like I said, for it to break out. Let me go ahead and add a trend line on this. You can see that it has this trend line as well, which it kind of peeked through a couple of days back. And you could always also draw a shorter term trend line from this top over here. And then we could use that as a potential area of resistance as well. You see that one's here, and the other one is right around here. So those are actually two potential areas of resistance I'll be looking at too. So I'm actually gonna, now that I see this, I'm gonna see if it gets over this trend line, which kind of is the same as this pivot right here, and then I would buy some for a quick trade up to this trend line, this second trend line, and if it breaks this trend line, I'd be looking to add into it because you can see on the daily, and that's actually would be a really bullish signal on this stock. All right, so that's it. Kroger is one earning trade that I'll be looking at today, along with getting out of Carnival and potentially being stopped out of India. We'll see. But I will update you guys a little bit later with a market recap going into Friday. And I wish you all a wonderful Thursday. Happy trading. Have a great day.